Srinivasa Ramanujan was a self-taught mathematical genius who relied heavily on intuition to succeed, believing that an equation had no meaning unless it expressed a thought of God. While his peers meticulously reached their conclusions through formal proofs, Ramanujan made significant contributions to number theory, infinite series, continued fractions, elliptic functions, and many other fields, often based on inspiration drawn from dreams and visions. Rising from obscurity and extreme poverty to worldwide recognition, Ramanujan attributed his knowledge to his family and to the goddess Namagiri Thayar. With no formal training in mathematics and highly unconventional methods of reaching results, few could explain his genius, and his work continues to astonish scholars more than a century later. Srinivasa Ramanujan Iyengar was born on December 22, 1887, in Tamil Nadu, a southern state of India. He was raised as an Orthodox Hindu, and his mother taught him Brahmin culture, which he followed throughout his life. His talent for mathematics stood out from a very young age. He achieved the highest exam scores in his district and mastered advanced trigonometry by the age of 13, solved cubic equations at 15, and developed his own theories while working through quartic equations in algebra. The true awakening of his genius came at the age of 16 when he came across a little-known book titled A Synopsis of Elementary Results in Pure and Applied Mathematics by G.S. Carr. The book presented 5,000 theorems, largely without proofs, logical assertions supporting conclusions. This approach deeply influenced Ramanujan, who was entirely self-taught, encouraging him to pursue his own work in the same intuitive manner, guided primarily by instinct. He independently studied Bernoulli numbers, leaving his peers in awe, often unable to fully comprehend his work due to his lack of formal mathematical training. After graduating in 1904, Ramanujan received a university scholarship, but quickly lost it because his devotion to mathematics caused him to neglect his other subjects. Over the next 2 years, he faced similar academic struggles and lived in extreme poverty, often on the brink of starvation. Despite this, he continued to study and research independently, recording numerous results and discoveries in a series of notebooks that are still studied today. On July 14, 1909, Ramanujan married a 10-year-old girl named Janaki, chosen by his mother. Shortly afterward, he developed a hydrocele, a condition where fluid accumulates in the scrotum, but he could not afford surgery. He lived with the condition for months until January 1910, when a surgeon agreed to operate on him free of charge. Ramanujan recovered, but his fragile health troubled him for the rest of his life. Later that same year, he fell ill again, and fearing for his life, he entrusted his notebooks to a friend to pass on in case of his death, though he eventually made a full recovery. Ramanujan's fortunes changed when he met V. Ramaswamy Iyer, the founder of the Indian Mathematical Society. Iyer introduced Ramanujan to prominent members of the Madras mathematical community, including A.R. Ramachandra Rao. Initially, Rao believed Ramanujan to be an impostor due to his unconventional methods and lack of proofs, while others were impressed but confused by the unclear presentation of his work. Eventually, Ramanujan met Rao in person and succeeded in convincing him of his extraordinary talent. Satisfied, Rao agreed to financially support him, allowing Ramanujan to continue his research and publish his work for the first time in the Journal of the Indian Mathematical Society. In 1912, Ramanujan obtained a job as an accounting clerk, where he often rushed through his duties to spend his free time conducting mathematical research at his desk. With the help of Iyer and Rao, Ramanujan began writing to several British mathematicians in early 1913, sharing his work. Most either ignored his letters or were unimpressed by his lack of formal mathematical education, but one man was stunned, the British mathematician G.H. Hardy. Like Rao, Hardy initially suspected Ramanujan was a fraud. While he recognized some results, others were entirely unfamiliar, yet so extraordinary that Hardy believed they must be correct, because no one could possibly invent them without profound insight. Hardy showed the letter to his colleagues, who were equally impressed, and the following month he wrote to Ramanujan to arrange a trip to England. However, Ramanujan declined the offer due to his Brahmin upbringing and the Hindu belief in Kalapani, which considered overseas travel taboo. Instead, he received a scholarship from the University of Madras in May 1913 to continue his research. Hardy refused to give up and urged Ramanujan to reconsider. This time, to everyone's surprise, Ramanujan agreed. His mother had reportedly experienced a dream in which their family goddess Namagiri had appeared and commanded her to allow the journey so her son could fulfill his life's purpose, a message Ramanujan gladly followed. On March 17, 1914, Ramanujan traveled alone to England, leaving his wife Janaki with her parents, and arrived on April 14th. Upon arrival, he showed Hardy the rest of his notebooks, astonishing him. Hardy compared Ramanujan's genius to that of mathematical greats such as Jacobi and Euler. Although they became close collaborators, Hardy and Ramanujan had contrasting personalities. Hardy was an atheist devoted to rigorous proof and traditional mathematical methods, while Ramanujan was a devout Hindu guided by intuition and self-taught techniques. Despite these differences, their collaboration at Cambridge over 5 years was extraordinarily productive. In March 1916, Ramanujan earned a Bachelor of Arts by Research, an early predecessor to the modern PhD, primarily for his work on highly composite numbers. He was elected to the London Mathematical Society in December 1917. Then, on May 2, 1918, he was elected a Fellow of Trinity College, Cambridge, the first Indian to achieve this distinction. In the early months of his stay in England, Ramanujan lived comfortably. However, with the outbreak of World War I and food shortages, his strict vegetarian diet became difficult to maintain, and his health began to decline. From 1915 onwards, he spent much time in hospitals as his condition worsened. He became depressed and suicidal, compounded by his lack of contact with Janaki, who was prevented from writing to him by his mother, who feared it would distract him from his work. In 1917, he was diagnosed with tuberculosis and sent to a sanatorium. Today, we know this diagnosis was incorrect. He was actually suffering from hepatic amoebiasis, often caused by untreated amoebic dysentery, a disease he had contracted multiple times before traveling to England. Despite his failing health, mathematics never left his mind. One day, while visiting him in the hospital, Hardy arrived in a taxi numbered 1729, which he described as a dull number. Ramanujan immediately corrected him, explaining that it was the smallest number expressible as the sum of 2 cubes in 2 different ways, an entirely new perspective. As a result, 1729 is now known as the Ramanujan number. As his health rapidly deteriorated, Srinivasa Ramanujan returned to India on March 13, 1919. Unable to recover, he died on April 26, 1920, just 32 years old. It was only decades later, once his work had been fully studied and rigorously proven, that Ramanujan received the global recognition he deserved. Today, numerous theorems and awards bear his name. In his short life, Ramanujan had a monumental impact on mathematics. His extraordinary journey from humble beginnings inspired the 2015 biographical film, The Man Who Knew Infinity. The infinity referenced in the title points both to the infinite series he studied, now known as Ramanujan's summation, and to his apparent access to higher knowledge. Ramanujan believed that his family goddess Namagiri was the source of his inspiration and genius, often revealing equations to him in dreams or visions where complex mathematical formulas unfolded before his eyes. Whether his genius was natural or supernatural, his importance to modern mathematics cannot be overstated. Perhaps his brilliance is best captured by the words of his friend and mentor G.H. Hardy, who once said that on a scale of 0 to 100 in mathematical talent, he rated himself a 25, the great German mathematician David Hilbert an 80, and Ramanujan a 100. If you enjoy our Deep Dive in History series, don't forget to subscribe and check out our latest video.